What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today, oh yes, today, we are back with some more Black Ops, but this time it isn't me playing anything. This time in Black Ops 4, we are watching the new Alpha Omega gameplay. Yes, DLC 3. This is not me playing it. This is strictly the commentation, commentation. I don't know what the right word is there. Sorry, over the gameplay that Treyarch dropped. I hope you guys do enjoy. This is not my video. I will leave the link to the real video down below. Hope you guys enjoy. Stay frosty. Peace.
Well, I think the first thing is that, there's been a lot of rumours for a while that we were going to be going to Nuketown, but as always, things are never as simple as they appear. I mean,
They are not.
the sign that you'll see when you arrive identifies it as Camp Edward, which, isn't quite what people thought Nuketown was necessarily, because what it turns out to be is that it is a front for something else, something much, much larger. This is actually a facility owned and operated by a group known as Broken Arrow. And once you start scratching the surface, you're going to realise that, the Nuketown that you think you know really is, I was going to say literally the tip of the iceberg, but that's not true. It's figuratively the tip of the iceberg. I think the overall map is many times larger than the original. I can't remember the exact proportion, so I'll just say if it was like that, it's more like that.
We've got a very complicated relationship with icebergs this year.
Well, we don't make stories. That's the chaos story, so just keep that to the
Just in
side.
general,
Keep that to the side.
Fair. Okay, so talk to us a little bit about the implications of having the Primus and Ultimus crews working together for the first time. How does that begin shaping our experience here?
I think everyone knows that, the main difference, the Primus crew got to go on a very kind of emotional journey, searching for their souls and trying to save them and everything. Whereas Ultimus were a bit more goofy, stumbling around, having a bit of a laugh and not caring too much about the fate of the universe. Now under Nikolai's leadership, obviously he's going to first of all find out that things weren't quite as simple as he thought, and Richtofen always had reasons for keeping secrets to himself. Nikolai's going to struggle a little bit with that, because once you've read that chronorium and you know what's coming, should you tell people, or do you try and just nudge them along? Or did the book say that you never told them? It's a real can of worms, but like I say, getting the different versions of the characters in the same map, you really, really see the contrast, Richtofen, Ultimus Richtofen, insane. Utterly insane. I mean, Primus is only marginally more stable, but he's got kind of a mellower soul. Drunk Nikolai bumbling around looking for his vodka and going on about his ex-wives. As I say, it's kind of a reminder of how far the characters have come, and seeing what they do and don't recognise in each other is part of the fun.
Well, and you get to play as both.
Yes.
Well, tell us, was that a bit of a reunion of sorts? Was it a walk down memory lane from a narrative standpoint in terms of like how those personalities?
In a weird way, it's funny. I remember saying this when we did Classified, because we'd spent so long with Primus since Origins forward, really, and we tried to make them more realistic and give them a lot more emotional resonance, which I definitely think we achieved. If you look at the Black Ops 3 season and all those death scenes, it was nice to see people crying as much as I actually cried when I wrote some of them, because
It wasn't funny. I'm sorry.
it wasn't. No, it's no laughing matter. And that emotional journey that we'd taken them on, that was hugely important to me. So when we first decided to go back to Ultimus, a little part of me was a bit, they weren't as much fun, they didn't have as much. But once I started writing the jokes again and making myself laugh a lot,
Yeah.
and hopefully other people, it's no good if it's just me that laughs, but so initially there was a bit of a resistance from me to bring back Ultimus, because I thought we'd progress the characters.
Yeah.
But doing Classified and then doing this where we get them together, it's the best of both worlds. It really is.
All right. So here we are. We find ourselves back in Nuketown.
Yep.
Take us on a stroll, Greg.
Take us on a stroll. Well, look, there's a bus. It's not the bus. It's not going anywhere. That's not to say that Ted isn't necessarily going to appear somewhere down the line, but he's a robot. He's kind of difficult to get rid of. So like I was saying earlier, a lot of these areas are going to be familiar to people, obviously with a slight twist. There's going to be lots of like every time we do a map, you know, it gets its own sheen on it. But this, like I said earlier, literally just represents a small fraction of actually what's there to be discovered. So, you know, we let people start off thinking they know what they're getting into, and then as they get deeper into the game, we obviously pull the rug out from under them, and suddenly they're in a state of panic, not knowing what's coming next. That's the way we do things.
Talk to me a little bit about sort of the lighting and the environment. To me, I mean, it's a beautiful looking map.
It is, and in fact, that's one of the things that the characters will talk quite a lot about. Is, in fact, I think it's Ultimus Nikolai. It says, "Who are billionaires who live in such luxury?" So they all have their impressions of what's going on in the map. But as you see now, we're starting to go into some of the lower levels, into the Broken Arrow facility, where, yeah, like all our good scientific research groups, they've been doing all sorts of things that they maybe shouldn't have been doing, or definitely had consequences that they may not have expected.
As we find ourselves down here in the bunker, talk to us a little bit about kind of the size of the experience, because I'm seeing things in Nuketown that I haven't seen before.
Yeah, it's of a magnitude of 4, I think is the right way to say it. 4 times bigger. What you used to see was a quarter of what's really there now. I'm just approaching statistics in different ways here, and none of them are very well, but yeah, it's at least 4 times the size of what Nuketown originally was.
What were some of your favorite elements to build back into this experience?
Well, I mean, the biggest one for me really was narrative, to kind of get into the narrative history of the building. I mean, I remember people asking me years and years ago, why was Marlton in the bunker? So, you know, that's something that we're going to get to revisit a little bit, shall we say. So I think, you know, even beyond what people actually knew of Nuketown, there was just a lot of very significant narrative threads that we knew that we had to come back to. I mean, we explored a little bit of Broken Arrow in the comic book series we did a couple of years ago with the Victus crew. We saw some of Russman's history to that. But this is much more of a deep dive, and you will get to see some of the things they are responsible for, including some twists on traditional enemies and traditional weapons. I think you saw some lightning hounds running around there who are a little bit of a variation on the usual hellhounds.
A note for viewers. This is a sort of pre-release build. There's some temp audio in there, so
yeah, it might be some of mine. So if you hear a Scottish person or a robot yelling out, that's just because this build is before we had implemented in the actual actors' dialogue. And that's another thing. God, they had fun doing both characters.
But that'll sound a little different tomorrow when it's out.
Yes.
Okay. So prior to just over the last couple of days, we've seen the Ray Gun Mark II.
Oh yeah, the Ray Gun Mark II.
On our social channels. Talk to us about the Ray Gun Mark II.
Well, ray guns have got a long history in zombies, and you know, people always like to see the ray gun coming back. And this time the Ray Gun Mark II is coming back with a very special twist. I don't want to explain exactly how it functions, but let's just say you can modify it or put it together in a number of different ways that significantly alter its functionality. So it kind of becomes a customize your own ray gun the way you like kind of ray gun. Good old Ray.
So the inventiveness of the ray gun doesn't end there. If I'm not mistaken, there's a new perk that's being introduced.
Yes, Blood Wolf Bite. Yes. Sounds good, doesn't it?
I like it.
It sounds good already. Well, this one I particularly like, because what it does is when you're doing a lot of damage and killing a lot of zombies and you have this perk activated, it will spawn a wolf known as Luna, who will then fight alongside you, chomping up the zombies. And come on, dogs eating zombies, that's good. We've usually had the hellhounds, or in this map, the lightning hounds coming at us. It's nice to have a dog on our side again.
Yeah.
We've not done that for a little while. And the last one, I think, was the ghost dog in Der Eisendrache. At least this one's alive.
Zombies has been a big part of what we do here at Treyarch. All the way back from World at War, BO1, BO2, BO3, and now even BO4.
Alpha Omega follows on from the 2 Ether maps that we've already seen in Black Ops 4. We got to play as the Ultimus crew in Classified, and we got to play as the Primus crew in Blood of the Dead. And those players who managed to finish those 2 maps will now realise that those 2 groups of characters have met. And this brings us up to Alpha Omega, where for the first time ever, players are going to be able to play as both the Primus versions and the Ultimus versions.
Seeing these 2 character crews come into one space is going to drive so much of the interaction and how they talk to one another, how they interact with their space.
Boy, you talk. I did not say anything. I think you have me mixed up with someone else.
And the space is just full of Easter eggs and different kind of nods to different points of the Aether story, because they do have an involvement there.
So now you're back in Nuketown, but it's not the Nuketown that you've played before. This map is 400% larger than the original map. That means there's more places to explore. There's more space above ground and below ground. There's additional houses that you got to see on the block before. Now you can go in and explore those houses and see what's in there, what's going on.
Nuketown's always been a fun map in the zombie storyline, because while originally it was a very small map, it had elements in it that were hinting about something much bigger.
Nuketown as a location and that facility is such a big part of the zombie storyline, specifically the Aether storyline. So much has happened there, and so much that we haven't really been able to talk about or tell that story yet.
So at Nuketown's Broken Arrow facility, you'll find that there's been some secret weapons research going on. And these weapons are prototype ray guns that were developed at Broken Arrow.
We want players to feel the nostalgia of coming back to Nuketown, and we do that with those original spaces. But there's so much more to experience, and now that we've added new features and new mechanics, new enemy types.
A couple of them are based on the Nova 6 crawlers that you saw in Kino der Toten, and they are an evolution of these creatures. There is the Jolting Jack, and there's the Nova 6 bomber. The Jolting Jack is a creature that can teleport around, and it can fire electric bolts at you.
So I can remember playing zombies for the very first time. I remember playing through it and thinking, wow, this is really something special that we have here. And then to see it come full circle, now we have an operation in Black Ops 4 that's fully themed for zombies, and we're pulling all of this narrative and all of this lore that we've built up over multiple titles, multiple games, and multiple maps. Is super exciting, kind of see that all come to fruition. I think players are really going to enjoy it and get excited by it.